longing for the spotlight. Once in a small, bustling town surrounded by rolling hills and vast fields of golden wheat, there lived a young man named Alaric. Alaric was known throughout the town for his ambition and relentless pursuit of fame. From a very early age, he was enchanted by the idea of standing on a grand stage, basking in the adoration of an audience. The townspeople, simple and content with their modest lives, could never understand Alaric's unquenchable thirst for the spotlight. While his friends worked on farms, honed their crafts, or helped their families in various trades, Alaric spent his days dreaming of applause, accolades, and fame. He often found himself alone, rehearsing lines from famous plays or mimicking the grand gestures of the traveling performers who occasionally visited the town square. He would look at the sky and say, "One day they will all know my name, and I will be remembered forever." His opportunity finally arrived when the King's Royal Theatre Troupe announced a grand competition to find the next great star. Alaric knew this was his chance. He spent every waking moment practicing his monologues, perfecting his movements, and crafting his performance to be unforgettable. He rehearsed in front of mirrors, imagining the cheers of the crowd and the applause that would echo through the halls. His ambition drove him to neglect the simpler pleasures in life. He no longer joined his friends for meals or laughed with the townsfolk at the marketplace. His entire existence became focused on that single goal: to be seen, to be admired, to be in the spotlight. He believed that once he achieved fame, everything else would fall into place. His happiness, his sense of worth, and his purpose in life were all tied to that moment when the world would recognize his greatness. The day of the competition arrived, and the theater was filled with eager spectators. Alaric took the stage, his heart pounding with excitement. As the spotlight shone on him, he delivered his performance with passion and precision. He gave everything he had, pouring his soul into every line, every movement, every glance. But as the performance came to an end, something unexpected happened. The audience applauded, but it was polite and lukewarm, not the thunderous applause he had envisioned. Alaric was crushed. He had imagined roaring cheers, standing ovations, and his name on everyone's lips. Instead, he was one of many performers who had impressed but not captivated. He left the stage feeling empty, wondering why. Despite all his efforts, he hadn't achieved the recognition he so desperately craved. The spotlight had been on him, yet it had not filled the void in his heart. As the weeks passed, Alaric struggled with feelings of disappointment and confusion. He couldn't understand why the spotlight, the very thing he had longed for, had left him feeling hollow. In his search for answers, he sought out the troupe's director, an older man named Dorian, who had seen countless aspiring performers rise and fall over the years. Dorian listened patiently as Alaric poured out his heart, explaining his lifelong dream of fame and the emptiness he felt after the performance. With a kind smile, Dorian said, "Alaric, the spotlight is not something that will fulfill you. It is a fleeting thing, like the flicker of a candle. True fulfillment comes not from being seen by others, but from the impact you have on their lives. The applause will fade, but the stories you tell, the emotions you evoke, those will last far beyond the stage." Alaric was taken aback. He had always believed that being in the spotlight was the key to happiness, but Dorian's words struck a chord. It dawned on him that his obsession with fame had blinded him to the true purpose of his craft: to connect with others, to share something meaningful, to make a difference. Over time, Alaric's approach to his performances changed. He no longer sought the spotlight for the sake of being admired. Instead, he focused on the message behind his roles, the emotions he could convey, and the stories he could bring to life. He began to understand that the greatest performers were not those who craved attention, but those who lost themselves in the art, giving everything they had to the audience without expecting anything in return. Slowly, the emptiness that had once consumed him began to fade. He found joy in the creative process, in the connections he made with fellow actors and with the audience. The applause, once his sole measure of success, became secondary to the fulfillment he felt in sharing something real and profound. The spotlight, once a symbol of his longing for recognition, became just a tool, not the ultimate goal. In the end, Alaric discovered that the longing for the spotlight, if pursued blindly, could lead to a life of emptiness and dissatisfaction. The true value of any pursuit, whether it be performing, creating, or any other endeavor, lies not in the recognition one receives, but in the impact one has on the world. By shifting his focus from seeking fame to offering something of value, Alaric found a deeper, more lasting sense of purpose and contentment. The moral of his journey is clear. Chasing the spotlight for personal glory will never bring true happiness. It is through giving, through creating connections, and through contributing to something greater than oneself that we find meaning.